Hey, hi everyone, I'm Mei Lynn and today I'm here with Adia. Yeah, so as we go into the month of March, as the theme of the month is if brokenness could sing, what would be the sound of its melody? Yeah, and so Adia is here with us today. You want to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I used to be a cover musician before COVID happened. For the past 6 months, I've been living in the UK. It's been a ball of a time, but sadly I've had to return because I was unable to extend my visa.
So, Adia, I'm quite curious, like how do you first get into music?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would say around maybe the age of 9 or 10, right? I fell in love with the piano. And as I grew a bit older, I realized that I had quite a good ear for picking up melodies and sort of like recreating them on my own. And I think as a child, that activity made me feel very understood. And it helped me to express a lot of what I was feeling at the time. I think I was quite a depressed kid actually. My mom and dad told me that actually I was so quiet. They were so worried about my aloofness, right? That they were considering sending me to a child like therapist because I was so quiet. So yeah, I think the keyboard or piano was my way of expressing myself.
Like, what is it about music that help you express yourself?
I think generally as a person, I am quite prone to being very melancholic. Sorry, I I'm not really able to conquer sadness a lot of the time. And I do feel like I've gotten better as I've gotten older, right? But I've always felt quite overwhelmed by that general feeling of being depressed and full of like negative emotions. Um, I remember like I had this feeling when I was young, right? This feeling never really left, Like I always felt homesick, even while sitting at home. I can't explain it. I don't feel that anymore now. But as a kid, I used to feel that all the time. And I think, apart from that feeling, I also constantly felt like an outsider, I guess. I used to read a lot as well to escape from, my immediate surroundings, right? So my head was always either in a book or I was at a keyboard. And generally, just wasn't able to communicate with people very well, I think. And the keyboard was my way of expressing whatever madness I had inside of me, the good kind of madness, right? My curiosity, my love, and my desire to want to be around people. I was 17 and I was on a school trip to New York because I was going for my first ever Princeton Model United Nations conference, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And by the way, the people at this conference, right, kids my own age, okay, from all over the world, they voted me, right, to be the person least likely to return to the conference ever because I was so quiet and it made me feel so bad. But I remember, there was one time we were having sort of like a chill, rest time. I found this like grand piano at the lobby and no one was playing it. So at that time, me with my very mediocre skills, I just knew a few chords, but I had a lot to express within me, right? So I started playing this random song, and all these kids from all over, New York, New Jersey, America, other places in the world, they started crowding around the piano, and it wasn't that it was that great, I was just expressing and playing, and they all crowded around and they all started to listen. And I think that memory has always stayed with me. Probably one of the first few memories I had of music, right? Really helping me to connect with people around me. And of course, I think in every musician, there's always a need and a desire to be noticed. We're all attention seekers. Yeah, I mean, like it or not, I really believe that's the case. But deeper than the need to be noticed is the need to be loved, right? So I think that's probably one of like my earliest memories of that being noticed and being at the time probably I confused it with love even, but being noticed and having that connection with others.
Yeah, you say that like your music came from those places of brokenness and that.
I mean, in a certain way, yes. Because I would say that if you really think about it, the songs that resonate with people the most, right, are not happy songs. It is the freaking sad, depressing songs about heartbreak, losing someone, regret. All these very intense human emotions, right? And that these emotions are a very integral part of the human experience of being a human being, right? People all over the world all know what sadness is like and brokenness is like, to at least to some extent, right? I mean, some people are more broken some people feel more broken than others, for sure, simply because of the way that we're made. But I think to say that music totally comes from brokenness also would be quite unfair, I think, because I think you do need to have experienced brokenness, but you also need perspective to be able to create art, right? So in a way, almost like you need to be able to see the big picture of what has happened to you and what you've experienced. Take that and then serve it up on a platter to someone else to say, hey, like, I went through this. It looks like this from my view. Here you go. Yeah, and like for me, so many times, like when I'm going through a tough time, right, I'm not creative at all. So like I don't have energy to freaking get my guitar and write. All I'm doing is basically sitting on my bed crying or feeling sorry for myself or whatever it is, right? But I need some space from that emotion, some hindsight, some thought process before I can actually do something about it. So some songs that I've written, for example, I only wrote years after the actual experience I'm writing about.
Maybe just tell me a bit more about like your story. Yeah, like what you went through, and how did that, create some of the pieces that you wrote today.
Okay, so the first album, right? I finished it about a year after I got out of a really long and tiresome relationship. And to be very fair, it was not so much about the relationship as it was about me. I think I had just been tired for a long time, and the relationship was just a symptom of how broken I was, how alienated from my own self and my own soul that I was. So the album is titled Kintsugi, which is a Japanese art form, right, of repairing broken pottery with gold or silver. I liken myself to that broken, ceramic bowl or pot, whatever have you. And I really believed at that time that whatever sadnesses or brokenness that I faced as a child, young adult, that God was doing something really amazing inside of me, and that He was making me even better than I was before. So the next album that we're putting out, and it's coming out at the end of this month, by the way. When I was doing this album, we both decided that it should be titled The Heart Records. Because when I was with him, and my dear partner, like, he's gone through so much of my darkest moments with me, and I think we both learned and realized that, wow, like, so many things that have happened in the past, right, that still have remained in my heart and that still affect the way that I live and behave today. So we just kind of thought of the heart being sort of like a recording device, right? It stores all this information, and sometimes it doesn't store great moments as well. So yeah, the heart records. If you asked me to do this album 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it, simply because I was too proud, I was too egoistic, I was too much of a perfectionist. I was not able to really let loose, be creative, and be myself. I think when I think of this album compared to the last one, I think I'm a lot more humble than I was. And also, I think I had a lot more fun as well on this one, simply because I was able to give and receive love a lot better. I remember when we started recording this album, right, I had a severe problem with taking criticism. My poor boyfriend, so we would take turns recording each other. And so many times, right, initially when we began, oh, this poor boy, he stopped the recording after I'd done a take, and he said, well, it was not bad, quite well done, but this certain part needs to be a bit louder, and the way that you strummed here, I don't really like how you're plucking because it doesn't sound really good in my ears. And then immediately I go, you don't like how I play, is it? Like, I just get very, very, very ultra defensive, because I wasn't secure about the fact that I was loved, so then when you're not secure about the fact that you're loved, you feel like you need to perform, right? All the time. You're performing all the time. And you need to perform at your best ability. You cannot make any mistakes as well. And so many times also, right? Even without him saying anything, I do a take and then sit down in silence and feel really bad because in my mind, that was such a horrible take. How can I be such a horrible musician? I just hated on myself. I just would abuse myself, right? Verbally. Well, you're so horrible. I bet actually you're not supposed to be a musician. You're horrible at this, or you're never ever gonna make it. I can't believe that you're doing this right now. What do you think you're doing? You think you can actually succeed? Like stuff like that. Talk like that would be in my mind, right? Which is crazy. But from the beginning of the album to the end, right? I'm not the same person that I was when I started and the same person that I am now. And yeah, wow, the whole process is so different.
How was the process like, like getting out of that whole mental, like, oh, I'm not good enough, like, how can I be a singer, that kind of
Because I think when we're too critical of ourselves, we're not able to flow, we're not able to be free and be creative, right? And to play really good music requires one to be in a state of flow and in a state of non-judgmental flow as well. Like if you're playing music and you're judging everything that's coming out of your mouth or your fingers, right? There's no way that that's going to be good music. It could be good technically, maybe you miss 0 notes, right? But it wouldn't be a full-on creation, inspirational creation, right? So I started going for therapy. There's a Singaporean platform called safespace.sg, which I'm so thankful for. So they run an online platform, so I don't actually have to go in to see the therapist. I just meet her online, like right now, right? Like a Zoom call. She basically helped me to realize that a lot of my struggles, they stem from wrong beliefs that formed during childhood. I think that really helped me to see things a lot clearer. And really, like once you are able to see things for what they are, right? Then you're able to make progress and you're able to change. The one defining reason that I got better and improved, it was really the desire to love others better and to love myself better. And also, I guess, a really great desire to see myself in a clearer light. A lot of times, right, I look at old songs that I've written 8 years ago, 10 years ago. I look at the lyrics that I wrote, and somehow it's almost like a little truth nugget that someone put in a time capsule for me and then sent it right over here. Because I read the words and sometimes like, wow, like I really needed to hear that, like for now, like for this current situation that I'm facing. Like there's a song on the album called Daughter. But I think I wrote it about 6 years ago, and at that time, right, I was in the relationship I was telling you about. I was very tired, I was very broken, I was very hurt. Not just by the relationship, but I just by my very own decisions in my life and my own choices and whatever else had happened to me. Part of the song is taken from a Yeats poem, and the poem is titled When You Are Old. And I remember when I read that poem, it resonated with me so much. Can someone love the sorrows of my changing face? Wow, such a beautiful line, no? It's not mine. I'm gonna say it like here first, right? Can someone love the sorrows of my changing face? Can they love my pilgrim soul with love false or true? Those words at that time, of course, in that current place that I was in, it was like a prayer almost. Is anyone ever gonna love me like that? And I obviously wrote it with many tinges of hurt and pain from whatever I was facing. Yeah, so it's very interesting because I think a lot of the songs were written by me, but I think a lot of the songs were also written for me as well.
Are there still like struggles that you still face today? Yeah, in terms of like music or just yourself, yes, in general. Yeah.
Oh, let me take out my list. I would say, right, comparison is one very real struggle for me. So I think from when I was growing up, I never felt like a pretty girl. I've always felt like this nerd, this sort of like a flat-nosed nerd, who just never was able to get the attention of anyone. I just always saw myself as really boring, really quaint and like, oh, like really timid little mouse, like I always saw myself that way. So many times I struggled with comparing myself to someone who I deem worthier than me, prettier, better. And honestly, it does nothing. But it's like it's like when you're freaking hungry, right? And then instead of going to buy chicken rice, you go and get Pringles. Then you eat the Pringles, and then you're like, oh gosh, what have I done? My stomach feels, bloated, but I don't feel full. I don't feel sated. So it's a kind of thing where, yeah, the quantity of it doesn't actually do anything for me. So no matter how much I compare myself, to other people, almost like I think maybe there's even a part of me that does that, right? Because I am so afraid that other people will actually look at me and say that, oh, she's actually really good at what she does. Or maybe even afraid that, someone else might think that, okay, she's not really good at what she does, and, I want to preempt their judgment. And I want to sort of like guard myself, right? So then I compare myself to someone else and say, oh, I'm so horrible and they're so great. Yeah, so I've had to sort of really like remind myself that all of us are equal, prettier, not pretty, like, or different types of pretty or whatever, right? And I think I also struggle a lot with body image and body, like my self-esteem, with regard to how I look and the way that my body looks, right? I hated how I looked so much. I hated how my body looked so much. That I think, when I first started performing, when I first started performing was like 2017. And I remember my first ever regular gig was at this place called The Barbershop. And every Friday night I would go there with my head low and my shoulders drooping. I'm comparing myself to all these other better singers out there. So the moment I get onto stage, guess what? It's freaking gloom and doom, right? I have to pretend to be confident, right? But honestly, I think, a fake confidence is something that can be spotted if you listen closely enough. And I was not able to really genuinely have a good time myself because I was so worried about how I was not measuring up to par. So in my eyes, right, that gig on my part, it was a failure because I was not able to get out of my own head. I was not able to, number one, love myself and stand on that stage with confidence and pride in who I was.
As children, we grow up dreaming and all that, but we are told to, stop dreaming or we lost hope in that. So, what would you say to those people who with broken dreams, or people who have lost hope? Yeah.
I would say to these people, we are all the vessels of our dreams, right? And if you do feel like your dream has been broken or lost, then you need to start being a good vessel for that dream again. It probably might have been when you were younger, when you were actively pursuing your passions and your hobbies. And when I say be a good vessel, I don't mean quit your job, enter the music scene, and then eat spam and canned tuna for the rest of the year. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, okay, look, so many people in the world play music, but there's only one person in the world who can play music the way that you can, right? Or I can. Or one person in the world, like there's one Gordon Ramsay in the world, and he's so famous because he's just himself, and he stewarded his dream or gift or blessing or calling, whatever you want to name, whatever name you want to give, his passion, his desire, he stewarded it so well, that he's famous for being him. If it's a dream that you've had from when you were young, work it out, and yeah, don't leave it to the last minute as well. Like a lot of people, I think they tell themselves, oh yeah, when I'm 60, then I'm gonna start doing this particular thing that I've been itching or burning to do for a long time. I mean, if you're okay with that, then leave it to the age of 60. But if there's some sort of regret in you as you're saying that, then you've got to work that out. Yeah, don't leave it to the last minute. I believe that we're all blessed with people who support and love us, right? But at the end of the day, if you're not going to fuel your own flame, don't expect anyone to come sit around the fire. That's what I really believe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Adia, for joining us today on INONE. Yeah, so INONE, we are all about communities. So if you ever need someone to talk to, you can always DM us, and yeah, we'll be ready to talk to you. Thanks, Adia.
What do you remember? And I'll tell you the things you don't. Let me take a gander. If I do this right, if I do this right, if I do this right,